Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday Brief, live from the studios of Joy News here at Coco Mimle. My name is Nia Krofi Smartabe. Coming up in the headlines, the Supreme Court has ruled on the NDC's joint petition in the election suit filed by the New Patriotic Party. The Ghana Revenue Authority has embarked on some distress actions to retrieve tax debt owed it by some corporate entities. We'll find out how effective this has been. And we'll also find out how effective the AMA's directive to get hawkers off the streets of the Central Business District has also been. These and more, plus some wellness and tidbits from across the world when we return. Stay with us. Okay, thanks for staying with us here on the Midday Brief. Now to our first story. The Ghana Revenue Authority says it would intensify its distress action to recover monies owed it by recalcitrant corporate entities. In line with this objective, the GRA has on a number of occasions sealed off offices of companies which have faulted in taxes to the Revenue Authority. Well, joining me in the studio this afternoon is Mr. Maxwell Chachu, Assistant Commissioner in charge of debt management and compliance enforcement at the Ghana Revenue Authority. Thank you for joining us in the studio, Mr. Chachu.
You're welcome.
Okay, now your outfit was launched, I think, sometime late last year.
Yes, last year.
Okay, and you are supposed to manage the debt collection bit of the Revenue Authority. We know it's usually easy to monitor the large companies in terms of how much they are paying and what they've paid so far. What they've paid so far. But how about the smaller companies? Is there a mechanism in place you're using to monitor them?
Yes, it's the same system that is used to monitor the large companies. The software, we have a computer software. So when your file is input into the computer, your payments, everything is input. And when you don't pay, it's also records. So we have a system that records your debits and your credits. That is your payments and what you have collected, you claim you have collected. So when we view it and we see that you have an outstanding amount to pay, then we follow up on it for everybody, both large companies and small companies.
Okay, so is that part of your distress action?
The distress,
how does that work?
Yeah, the distress action is mainly the last resort that we take, or the last tool that we use in order to collect debt from recalcitrant taxpayers. When you declare your tax and you have not paid, and it stays with us, we follow series of actions. We visit you to come and pay, we make telephone calls to you, we write demand notices to you, and finally, we give you a final demand notice that expires after 7 days.
After 7 days?
After 7 days. When you don't turn up to arrange with us to pay, arrangement, either you pay all at a go or we spread it for you. We don't do that. Then we use the last tool, which is the distress action.
So how long does this interaction between you and the defaulting organization, how long does it last before you resort to the distress action?
First, when the debt is due, or when, for example, an audit is made, is performed, we give you 21 days to come and pay. After 21 days, then we follow up with telephone calls, even personal visits and notices, demand notices. Then after all this have been exhausted, then we use the tool of distress action.
Okay. So how has it been faring so far since you started using it?
Yeah, it's been very, very effective. Very, very effective. The last one we executed last week, yielded 100% result.
100%? Meaning you collected everything that
we collected everything for about 80% cash and the rest in post-data checks.
How much in total were you able to collect?
We collected over 66,000.
Okay, Ghana cedis.
Ghana cedis.
And this is from how many agencies?
From about just 5.
5 agencies?
Yes.
All in Accra?
All in Accra.
Okay. 66,000 Ghana cedis. So, seeing how effective it's been, at least with 5 agencies, you've been able to take 66,000 Ghana cedis from them. How often should you be embarking on this exercise?
It's as soon as these debts mature and the taxpayers become recalcitrant. then we process it all over the country. So we have informed all our field stations, local stations throughout the country, to process the distress warrants, or what we call distress requests, to us to be able to do this.
But when you say the debt matures, what exactly does it mean for someone who...
Yeah, that's what I said, that, for example, if an audit is made, we give the person a grace period of 21 days. Okay. After 21 days, it becomes...
Then we consider the debt to have been matured.
Yes, to have
matured,
yes.
Okay, so that's what it means when you say the debt has matured. So you're doing this across the country?
The country, all over the country.
Okay.
Across all tax types, both VAT, income tax, custom duties, etc. My unit is totally integrated. I have custom officers, I have former VAT officers and former IRS officers in my unit. So it's totally integrated.
Okay. And how has compliance been like from the agencies as well? Well, these 5 probably were a bit recalcitrant, so you had to go there. You had to resort to the distress action to get it from them. But apart from them, how have the other agencies been complying with you, your unit?
Generally, once we send them the demand notices, some of them come to negotiate for payment terms. And the law allows that payments could be spread for installment basis, and they come forward. It's those that don't come and refuse that we use this tool, apply this tool on them.
But sometimes, do they explain why they probably haven't been able to meet their tax obligations, or why they fail to?
Yes, some of them, yes. Some of them do.
What reasons do they give?
Yeah, because the tax law, especially the VAT, is not applied on cash basis. That is, as you receive cash, you sell, you receive cash, you pay the tax. But it's applied on accrual basis. That is, the moment the good is sold, is removed from your premises, tax invoice is issued or receipts are issued, the tax is expected to be due. So some of them, most of them, sell on credit. And then their creditors have not paid. So they find it difficult to pay or go and borrow money to come and pay the tax. But what we've been urging them to do is, when you are selling on credit, that is your personal arrangement to boost your sales, to boost your sales. So you should not use government money on credit. So ask your customers to at least pay the 15% tax upfront as cash, so that will enable you to pay your tax or to fulfill your tax obligations. But they don't, and therefore this money goes into credit sales, and they find it difficult to pay. Some of these reasons that they give, or probably they supply government agencies and they have not been paid, and also therefore they are also not able to meet their tax obligations.
Okay, let's backtrack a bit. Since your unit was set up, how many of these distress actions have you had to embark on?
That's the first one.
So the weekends was the first?
Yes, but we've been also going underground to go personally to some of these companies. And through that process, we've recovered over millions now.
Millions?
Yes.
Can you tell us exactly how much?
I will not mention the names of the companies.
No, I mean, how much exactly in terms of the millions? Is it millions? Is it like 10, 20, 30?
Just around about getting to 2 million.
Getting to 2 million. And how many companies in all? Because at least 5 of them have been able to give you 66,000.
So far, two major companies.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 2 major companies gave you the 2 million.
Yeah.
And now, over the weekend, you did the 5
over last week.
Over last week, 5 gave you 66,000. Do you still have companies that are owing?
Yeah, plenty of them.
Plenty?
Yeah.
You can't put a figure to it?
No, because they are scattered at the various local offices. And until they send me the information, I cannot know. But I know that our debt stock is very huge. It's quite huge. In fact, it's quite alarming. That is the reason why they came out with this unit. Yeah.
Okay. So finally, what education are you giving to organizations and businesses so that they do not get into a situation where you'd have to resort to distress action?
Yes. I'm advising them, encouraging them that those who owe the authority, the Ghana Revenue Authority, they should come forward to discuss terms with the Commissioner General as to how to pay without us visiting them, because we all work together to collect the tax. In actual fact, we cannot position our officers at every sales point
Okay.
or withholding point. For example, you know about the withholding tax, where you pay a tax, don't you? Your company, Joy FM, is expected to deduct it at source, what we call payee, and pay to the Ghana Revenue Authority. Sometimes they collect and they don't pay. Okay, so we are encouraging them that when they collect, they should not mix such monies with their company money.
Okay.
Separate it and pay immediately to the Ghana Revenue Authority when it is due. That is, for withholding taxes are due within the 15 days after the month of collection. They should pay. And the VAT, similarly. So I pay VAT, you pay VAT. But the collecting agent is the trader or the taxpayer from whom you buy the supermarkets. So they collect on our behalf and then account for it.
Okay.
After 1 month. When they collect, they keep it. And sometimes, because of their cash flow problem, they are tempted to use it.
Yeah.
When they use it, it becomes a problem.
Because I was going to say that apart from encouraging them, because definitely the temptation will come, but apart from encouraging them, do you have any mechanisms in place to help them so that they don't fall to that temptation to
that's the advice I'm giving them. They should not mix the tax money. In some companies, they create a separate account. In fact, we have a VAT account. That is one of the requirements for every trader. That in your books of accounts, you must have a VAT account, VAT account. If you keep such an account, any money in that account must have a separate account, bank account, so that you don't mix it with your normal money, thinking that everything is yours and attempting to spend it. When you do such a thing, you will be prevented from using it and becoming a debt that will have to chase you with a distress warrant.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Maxwell Chachu. He is the Assistant Commissioner in charge of Debt Management and Compliance Enforcement at the Ghana Revenue Authority. But we'll be bringing you shortly some live pictures from the Supreme Court where the hearing, yes, those are the live pictures from the Supreme Court, where the hearing for the NDC's joinder motion has just ended. We'll be crossing over briefly shortly rather, to speak to our correspondent at the court, Eric Curtis Howard, to give us exactly what has been happening in court today. And well, we understand that the Supreme Court has given a ruling on the joint application by the NDC to the NPP's elections fraud case today. The NPP is opposing the move, insisting it is a ploy by the NDC to delay the case. Last week, the court adjourned a hearing after listening to arguments from lawyers of the two parties. The ruling today, we understand, is in favor of the NDC. So, Curtis, hello, good afternoon to you. Hello, Eric Curtis Howard. Hello. Hello, Curtis.
Hello, Smart, I can hear you.
Okay, so tell us a bit more. We understand the ruling was in favor of the NDC.
Yeah. Okay, yes. No, come to me. Yes, Smart.
Yeah, Curtis. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yes. No. Come to me. Yeah, the information I'm taking indicates that the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, won the application in the courts today. The ruling was 6-3 in favor of the NDC, and as you can see, the court ruling just ended. So we'll try to get officials from both sides of the NDC and the NPP to tell us whether what really transpired in court. So we'll try to speak to Nana Tudazi. Well, the police has barricaded the whole place, and it's quite difficult trying to get interviews at the moment. But as soon as we get any official who is available, we can do the interview and we can get this going. Smart. Hello, Smart.
All right. So, Curtis, as and when you get the information or when you get access to Nana Atudatsi, we will get to hear that right here on the midday brief. Yes, Curtis. Okay, so those were some live pictures we were bringing you from the Supreme Court here in Accra. But earlier, Eric Curtis Howard spoke with DCOP Patrick Timbila on security arrangements at the court premises. Let's take a watch at what he had to say.
Usual security arrangement, but every situation goes with it a special security program. We started nicely from the first day. It was quite okay. The second day, a lot of supporters besieged the place. And this time around, I think, based on the second day, we were anticipating that a lot of people will come. And those who came the second day, some of them from the daily guard pitches were wielding some offensive weapons. So we had to strategize or step up our strategy to deal with any such situation, which we really did. And in the game plan, we decided to engage media to discuss it. And the media itself, on their own volition, also raised issues. The National Peace Council and co had to comment. A lot of media commentators condemned the fact that people must come and then attack their opponents with the offensive weapons. And we were also saying that we went in, we did some arrests here and there. But for the sake of peace and good order, we are massaging the...
Okay, so that was an interview with DCOP Patrick Timbila. But let's go back to the court now. Curtis is standing by with an interview for us.
For the process to go on. But the court also indicated that, yes, they are conscious of the number of witnesses that are going to be called and they can manage the case. So they are laying the fears and the doubt as to how the case can be managed. The court itself will manage its own case.
So by this ruling, does it suggest that
Well, when we get there, we'll cross the bridge because the position the NDC took always is that what has been brought before the court is empty. There's no evidence. It's just to waste our time. That's what the party has always said, that looking at the petition that has been brought, but they will bring the evidence. And I think that the applications are being filed for the particulars to be brought. So if the particulars are brought, I hope quickly we will go into full proceeding session and look at it. It depends on what the court says. If the court gives an order, what we should be doing. That's what we are waiting for. They've gone on recess. When the court comes and gives its consequential orders, when we should file, when we should come to court, we will do same. We'll comply by it. Welcome.
He's a member of the NDC.
Okay, so welcome back there to the studios. We just brought you an interview with Victor Kojoga Dawudu. He is a member of the NDC's legal team, and he tells us that they are currently awaiting the court's orders because it's on recess, and whatever the court, they're waiting to know when they will have to file their case and everything. But in a related development, in response to a series of open letters and interviews by Dr. Charles Rekubrobe calling on the NPP to cut the comic and tragedy over its decision to boycott the Boem and Akachi South by-elections, the communications director of the NPP, Nana Kumia, has questioned the rationale behind Dr. Brobe's stance. Nana Kumia was speaking on Adom FM's Jaso Insem morning show earlier this morning. He added that the NPP believes there are serious problems with the results of the 2012 elections and are therefore challenging it in court. He advised Dr. Rekubrobe to be circumspect in his choice of words, saying he, Dr. Brobe, is not helping himself with his utterances and writings. Nana Kumia further reminded that the NPP demonstrated its support of Dr. Rekubrobe when government operatives seized his radio transmission equipment for his radio station, Radio I, in 1995. Dr. Rekubrobe, who describes himself as a founding member of the NPP and Victor Owusu's nephew, in his latest letter, has described the actions of the NPP as nonsensical and illogical. We will be crossing over intermittently to the Supreme Court to bring you more interviews as and when we get those reactions for you. And we are still giving you some live pictures from the premises of the Supreme Court here in Accra. And as and when we have interviews, we will bring you those interviews. But like Curtis indicated earlier, security is really tight. They've barricaded the place. So the media are having quite a tough time trying to get people to speak to, or the lawyers involved in the case to speak to. But as and when they manage to squeeze in an interview or two, we'll bring it to you live here on the Midday News Brief on Joy News. Now to some other stories. Globally, most countries have found it difficult to fight corruption. In Ghana, successive governments have indicated their commitment to fight bribery and corruption in the public sector, but millions of cedis are lost annually, depriving the taxpayer of major development benefits.
Ghana scored 45 and ranked 64th on Transparency International's 2012 Corruption Perceptions Index. The index ranked 176 countries on how corrupt their public sector was perceived to be. Ghana's score and rank means the perceived level of corruption in the public sector is above average. Joy News sought to find out how Ghana can win the fight against corruption. We spoke to Dean of University of Ghana Business School, Professor Kwame Ameyaw-Domfe.
One thing we shouldn't forget is that fraudsters are always ahead of us. And therefore, if we want to catch them, then we need people who are well trained, who can move along with them. So professional training, acquiring the skills and the tools to push them around. Lake Nissen was a clever guy. Madoff was very intelligent, and many others. And when you are dealing with these superstars, then you don't, excuse me my word, you don't use idiots. You need people who have been trained.
CEO of Corruption and Fraud Audit Consortium, Hector Boham, believes the academia and think tanks have a critical role to play in fighting corruption. According to him, both state and private institutions must invest in research. As a matter of urgency, extensive periodic research must be carried out into activities of state institutions and public officers.
We have stakeholders, but the stakeholders have not invested money into research. I want to see a time when, the organizations, the institutions, the banks, the insurance companies will donate. It's happening in the U.S. right now. We have an institute known as the Institute for the Prevention of Fraud. It is being sponsored totally by private institutions. And what they do is they do research into fraud. And through that research, they are able to educate the country about the methods, how to fight against fraud, the methods to protect the country against fraud, and so on.
Hector Boham says the media must play its watchdog role diligently rather than focus on trivialities.
Get a Digibox now. Visit us on www.multitvworld.com or call 0302 211 68025 for a Multi-TV accredited dealer.
Now let's move to the Ashanti region, where police in Kumasi have arrested 11 suspects over their alleged involvement in various criminal acts. The suspects, with their accomplices, according to the police, have been terrorizing taxi drivers and others in the metropolis. One of them, Kwesi Ayaga alias Adembe, identified as an ex-convict expected to serve 50 years imprisonment, was arrested at Abuakwa upon a tip-off. Mohamed Nuruddin has filed this report.
For some time now, these suspected criminals and their accomplices have been terrorizing residents in Kumasi, especially taxi drivers and passengers. According to the police, they either rob or snatch valuable items, including mobile phones, cars, among others. For instance, Kwesi Ayaga, alias Adembe, known for a series of armed robbery cases in the metropolis, was sentenced to 50 years imprisonment by Kumasi Circuit Court for the charges of robbery and rape. Kwesi Ayaga was again granted bail on the charges of stealing until his recent arrest. 2 other suspects, Kofi Owusu, alias Kofi Isaac, 27, an ex-convict, and John Obeng Asari, 35, were also arrested for selling a Toyota Corolla they snatched. However, they mentioned one Wafa K as the potential buyer. He has been put on police wanted list. Ajimandua's story was different as the police revealed he exhumed a human skull for a spiritualist at Asawasi. DCOP Augustine Janin is Ashanti Regional Police Commander.
Another one is in connection with some people who have been operating at the BB area in Asukwa, who have been robbing people of their valuables. They hide in the dark. You come out, they come with cutlasses and local manufactured pistols and then rob you and they go back. And of late we have been mounting some operations, and these are the people who are in the cooler with us now.
He said some of them steal livestock like goats and sheep and would soon be paraded for a public identification parade in Kumasi. All the suspects are in police custody and will soon be put before court. Mohammed Nuruddin's reports from Kumasi.
Now, 10,000 youth across the country are to benefit from a skills development project that seeks to boost tourism in the country. To oversee the implementation of the project, the Ministry of Tourism has inaugurated a 13-member steering committee and a 6-member monitoring and evaluation committee. The job of the steering committee and the monitoring and evaluation committee is to oversee the skills development and job creation project. The Ministry of Tourism is collaborating with a private entity, Messrs. Craft Pro Services Limited, to implement the project. According to the Ministry of Tourism, over a 2-year period, 10,000 youths across the country will receive training in the hospitality industry, such as providing quality hotel and restaurant services, production and sale of handicraft, as well as proper tourist reception.
If you are interested in maybe running a restaurant or a chop bar, you will be provided that kind of training. If you are a taxi driver, you will be trained to be courteous, all the things that we see when we travel. That kind of training will be given. If you are a crafts or artifact seller, they will teach you how to relate with your customers and even how to produce good quality artifacts that will attract patronage.
The project, which has already started, will also offer jobs to trainees in the tourism industry, as well as provide credit facilities for startup tourism businesses. Akua Sena Dansoa says the ministry aims to build capacity of Ghanaian youth so they could benefit from emerging opportunities in the tourism sector.
Taking the youth off the streets, income in the local economies, and it's all part of poverty reduction and development of the sector in the country. The school dropout, somebody who has not been in school, anybody who is interested in doing a vocation in the tourism sector is welcome. You don't need any qualification to enroll.
She indicated 2012 saw an increase in tourism arrivals of 903,300, up from 821,200 in 2011. There was also a corresponding increase in revenue of $1.7 billion, up from $1.5 billion. The committees are composed of representatives from various ministries as well as public and private training institutions. After issuing a directive and deadline last week to rid hawkers of the pedestrian walkways in the business district of Accra, the AMA was confident that this time around it had decongested the streets. Joy News visited the Central Business District to assess the situation. Here's a report put together by Adelaide Arthur. From Tudu through to the Makola shopping mall, the pedestrian walkways were relatively free, except for pockets of hawkers moving around the vicinity. Pedestrians walk about freely, a sharp contrast to what the situation used to be when the whole place was congested. The AMA task force was on site to enforce the directive. Some shoppers told Joy News that consumers are partly to blame for street hawking since they encourage the activity through patronage on the street instead of going into the established markets.
We are the main cause of the thing, because if you have been going to the shops buying the thing from the shop, I think they will come to the roadside and be selling over here. So we, the buyers, should stop buying from them. Then they will also go to their, because most of them have shops inside. Buying things over is very risky. You can buy something which is maybe expired. You won't know the person for you to return it back.
If we come to the market, instead of going in the market to buy, we rather buy from them outside. That's why they are also selling outside. Those people who sell along the road, they increase the price of the things. So I rather shop in the shop rather than buying outside.
The buyers are part of it, and then the AMA is also part, because they are supposed to, provide a shelter for these hawkers around, so they get themselves somewhere better in order for us to prevent these problems.
Though the hawkers played it safe by moving about with their wares, this woman found herself in trouble as her goods were seized by the AMA task force. In tears, she told Joy News she did nothing wrong. Joy News spotted Accra Mayor Alfred Oko-Vanderpoy, who said he was there to monitor the situation.
AMA, we do inspect what we expect. We expect the traders not to be on the road, not to be on the pavement. And so, momentarily and every time we come around and we monitor what we expect. The education is going on. The enforcement aspect is also going on.
He said recalcitrant hawkers who decided to deny pedestrians their right to free movement will be punished in accordance with the law. You're still watching the Midday Brief here on Joy News on Multi TV. We take a quick breather. We'll be back with some more stories. Stay with us. You're welcome back. This is still the Midday Brief here on Joy News on Multi TV. Now to some other stories. St. Lawrence Basic A and B schools in Abra, a suburb of Cape Coast, is sitting on a time bomb as their classroom block is weak and dilapidated. To avert the situation, teachers and pupils have vacated one of the structures housing classes 4 and 6 plus kindergarten pupils and resorted to running a shift system. Joy News' investigation revealed that St. Lawrence Basic Schools has not seen any renovation since its establishment in 1924 by the Catholic Church and really needs attention before it collapses completely.
The St. Lawrence Basic A and B schools in Abra, a suburb of Cape Coast, according to school authorities, leaks profusely whenever it rains, with some parts almost caving in. Hence, the action by authorities to vacate the premises to avoid future disaster. Joy News' investigation revealed that St. Lawrence Basic School has not seen any renovation since its establishment in 1924 by the Catholic Church and really needs attention to avoid any unfortunate incidents. The headmaster of the B stream of the school, Robert Annan, tells Joy News calls to the Metropolitan Directorate of Education and the chief executive have yielded little results since nothing has been done about the situation.
We tried contacting the authority to help us. First, we went to the chief and we were told they have also had several attempts to see to the powers that be to help. Unfortunately, all their efforts were in vain. Then came last term when we realized that it was getting worse and worse, and so finally we had to write to the Metro Chief Executive, drawing his attention that if we are not careful, that Malcolm disaster is also going to happen to us. So our Director of Education brought in some team to assess the situation, and finally they came out with a report that it was not safe for the children to keep on learning under that roof.
The headmistress of the Stream A, Eugenia Ampa, narrates to Joy News the unpleasant circumstances teachers and pupils go through during some school hours.
An uncompleted block without windows and doors. And sometimes you come to school to find out that people have defecated in the classrooms. So children will have to use the instructional time to clean the classrooms before classes commence.
Raphael Botti is a teacher of the school and appeals to the government and other benevolent individuals or organizations to come to their aid.
It's so serious. whenever it rains, we had to vacate the rooms to avoid danger. We are appealing through your medium to the government and then any other authority who can really help us.
Now, that school is nearly as old as my alma mater, Adesoto College, but I do hope they get the assistance that they truly deserve so that we can save our children from some untold hardships and collapse of the building. But moving on, President John Dramani Mahama this morning met with his Turkish counterpart Abdullah Gül at the Presidential Palace in Ankara. President Mahama, who is on a visit to Turkey at the invitation of the President, will later co-chair a bilateral session with President Gül. A number of cooperation agreements which have been under discussion since Abdullah Gül's visit to Ghana in 2011 will be signed after the meetings. As part of the visit, John Mahama will also meet Turkey's Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan and later attend an official dinner hosted by President Gül in his honor. Information provided by the presidency says President Mahama will also visit and lay a wreath on the Atakur Mausoleum of Mustafa Kemal Atakur, founder and first president of the Republic of Turkey. The site is also the final resting place of İsmet İnönü, the second president of Turkey. Turkey, like Ghana, is aggressively looking for new business and trading partners, new opportunities, and a greater role on the international stage. It also has solid democratic credentials like Ghana. You're still watching the Midday Brief, and we'll take a quick breather. When we return, we'll bring you some wellness tips. Stay with us. Now let's do some wellness. The arrival of a new baby is usually a joyous occasion, but it can also be a stressful period during which many adjustments ought to be made. Unfortunately, many women in this part of the world are not aware that mood changes come with childbirth and may vary from mild to severe. In fact, in the year after childbirth, a woman is more likely to need mental health care than at any other time in her life. The condition is known as postnatal depression. We'll bring you more in our wellness.
A research undertaken at the Komfanoche Teaching Hospital in Kumasi suggests that mothers with sick infants have a high depression rate than those without that problem. The high rate of depression, according to the research, could make nursing mothers expose their infants to all kinds of health risks that could have long-term effect on the quality of their lives when they grow up. After childbirth, nursing mothers are engaged with endless cycle of chores, broken sleep, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. Frustration sometimes set in when a mother cannot even know what their baby might be crying out for. This situation, coupled with the lack of support from loved ones, could lead to postpartum depression. Postnatal depression occurs in all cultures and all socio-economic classes and can happen to childbearing women of all ages. Postnatal depression can be mild, moderate, or severe. Symptoms can begin during pregnancy, suddenly after birth, or gradually in the weeks or months following delivery. It can happen after miscarriage, stillbirth, normal delivery, or cesarean delivery, and pregnancy is the common factor.
Postnatal depression or postpartum only refers to the depression that occurs within 4 weeks after childbirth. It's no different from everyday life, but it's extremes of behaviors that everybody goes through. So person loses interest in the things they normally find pleasure in.
But in this case, when mothers leave the hospital right after or a few days after birth, the incidence of postnatal depression is far higher and is often missed or misdiagnosed. Postnatal depression is an illness, and the severity of the illness depends on the number and combination of symptoms. For each woman, the experience of postnatal depression will be unique, which can contribute to the difficulty in identification and diagnosis. Symptoms can emerge at any time during the first year after birth, but most cases have their onset in the first 4 months.
You may have a disturbance in sleep, so person sleeps too little. You may also have a disturbance in appetite. They are unable to, so there's a loss of appetite and accompanying weight loss. Some also may go the opposite, they overeat. Okay? Then there's also a loss of energy. So person feels tired even on the least exertion. So when they get to the hospital setting, they may present more with the physical aspects. And what they present with also has a cultural flavor, what the society accepts as normal complaints.
The earlier the postnatal depression is identified, treatment must commence. All women with postnatal depression need emotional support and encouragement. The task ahead of a mother is usually daunting, and as such, they need to be psychologically prepared because not being ready can lead to postnatal depression. It is therefore important to talk to a psychologist or maternal and child health nurse as soon as possible on the issue.
Just when you thought pregnancy in itself was complicated enough, then comes postnatal depression. Well, report where we understand the members of the NDC are also exiting the premises of the Supreme Court. There's their vehicle right in front there, just trying to see which of the executives is actually leaving the Supreme Court premises. But well, okay, the media has managed an interview, so let's listen in to the interview with a member of the, okay, that's lawyer Gloria Ekufu, legal counsel for the NPP.
By the NDC to be joined as a party to the petition. The court heard the matter on the 16th and they rendered its decision by a majority decision of 6 to 3. The court agreed to their request to be joined as a party, and therefore they are now third respondents in the petition. The court has since ordered that within 3 days they should enter appearance and file their defense after we have served them the amended petition. So for now they have to serve the amended petition immediately, and then thereafter they will have to file their It means that until they have made their answer, the substantive matter cannot make a picture here. But also there are some applications that are pending. So those ones will be dealt with. When those ones go out of there, then the substantive matter. What are those applications? There are applications by the Electoral Commission Then we also
I know you are using your viewfinder, so it goes but this guy is worrying me.
Well, that was lawyer Gloria Ekufu of the NPP's legal team addressing the press at the Supreme Court premises. But let's do some business now. And the Bank of Japan has agreed to double its inflation target to 2% and ease monetary policy, meeting key demands of Japan's new government. Japan's central bank has guarded its independence, and there were fears it may resist Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's calls for it to do more to help growth. The Bank of Japan has gone further than many analysts predicted, offering to do open-ended assets purchases from 2014. Brian Redican from Macquarie in Sydney.
For a ruling by a majority.
Sorry to cut in, but we have an interview now, a clearer one, with Gloria Ekufu, so let's listen in.
Ordered that we amend our petition to include the NDC as third respondents, and then after that, within 7 days after we have served them with the amended petition, they will file their appearance and also their answer. Thank you very much.
It's okay, it's okay.
We are coming back on the 29th.
Okay, so that was lawyer Gloria Kufu telling our team that the NDC now will have up to 7 days after they've been formally served to respond and then become the third respondent in the petition. So that's our bulletin for now, but let's recap our headlines this afternoon. The Supreme Court has ruled on the NDC's joinder petition in the election suit filed by the NPP, and you just heard lawyer Gloria Kufu telling us that the NDC now has become the third respondent in that particular case. And I think the NDC's General Secretary, Johnson Isiedun Ketia, is also now addressing the press. We'll try and get you that also in a bit. But also the Ghana Revenue Authority has embarked on some distress actions to retrieve tax debt owed by some corporate entities. And we also found out how effective the AMA's directive to hawkers to get out of the streets of the central business districts has been. My name is Nia Kofi Smatabe. Many thanks for your company. We're back at 8 p.m. with more news. Stay with Joy News throughout the day.